Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It is February 16th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and it was really all downhill today. We had a little overshoot finally late in the day. You couldn't really find this channel until later, or you couldn't get it confirmed. Really, you didn't really have a think to look for it, or have a chance to even confirm it from the low side till here. So it's almost 9 o'clock before you get a chance to say, hey, maybe it's all we can find something different off the lows, but then it's 9:30 something before it confirms it on the high side. So you had to wait a little later in the day to find this channel. Early on, I was playing one that was more like so, and maybe it's valid too, but it just doesn't. It's really just hard to. You can see prices reacting off that midline, but you get an overshoot. You aren't really coming back to the trend line. When you do, it overshoots, it moves to a new low. So I really think the green one turns out to be the better one. If you were looking at this one earlier like I was, that's fine. But really the better bet was to play this shorter term one here. Notice you get a break, a new low. And there's a lot of sideways action there, really all the way till 10 o'clock. Just really going sideways in that tight range. Of course, we break out a couple of times to that downside. So not a lot of trades today. Um, there were a few early on. So if you had a hard time today, you're not alone. Just not a lot of trades today. So a couple of other things. I forgot to mention Monday was President's Day and a trading holiday last week, so hopefully you figured that out on your own. And there was no trading yesterday, so it's going to be a short week. On top of that, we had this big winter storm that came through my area, which I live in the south, and we're just not prepared for that kind of stuff. You guys that live in cold climates would probably laugh at us, but everything shuts down here, and it's just dangerous to travel, and it's a college town. There's a lot of college kids. There's wrecks all over town all day today because these college kids don't know any better. They think they can drive, and they get out and they try to drive in this stuff, and they don't clear the roads. They don't put down salt. They don't. They might put a few rocks on the bridges, and that's it. So until the traffic gets on it and the sun comes out, it's dangerous traveling. So I didn't even trade today. I didn't come into the office till almost 9 o'clock today. I do have a four-wheel drive vehicle, so I'm able to travel. But again, you got to be careful because of all the people that don't know how to drive. Even if you are prepared, they're not, and it's just dangerous driving. So uh, the sun came out this afternoon. It kind of cleared off, and the roads are not too bad now. So if nothing changes, I should be back on schedule tomorrow. However, they're calling for another storm to come through here tonight, another 3 to 6 inches, and we may be shut down again in the morning. So I have no idea what to expect. Luckily, I have not lost any power or internet. A lot of people around here have, depending on what area you're living in. But all across the South, I know they've had some power outages and internet outages and things like that. So we'll just have to see. I hope I'll be here in the morning, but if I'm not, you'll know why. So the only reason I won't be here in the morning, God willing, is if the weather's bad again. So we'll just have to see what happens. But I want to make you aware of it in case it does happen. But yeah, otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. But let's get to the trades for today. Notice that you had this leg down, and then you get a two-legged correction here. And that's actually a second entry short, but this is way before 7 o'clock. So you try to go higher once, you try to go higher twice underneath the EMA. That's a little small bar, like 5 ticks. That's a nice failed second entry long. There is room to get out before these lows down here, so that's a great place to enter. And if you enter that, you get an easy runner, and you know your measured legs way down here. So I usually try to get out right in front of that to be conservative. This time it overshot it. Sometimes it'll come up short. Many times it'll be to the tick though. So play that one, however. And then we just went into this range. This one is really kind of tipting right here. But we just had an overshoot right here, and we're just bouncing off Or really, you may not have had this green channel because I didn't really see it till later on. I don't think you could confirm it till a little later when we bounced down here a couple more times. So all you're really looking at is this to play this with an overshoot. And there was another channel that I looked at in here that looks something like this, but you just can't really make anything out of it. If you did play this one, which is what I had earlier, you also get an overshoot of it. So another reason that you really can't take any more of these shorts. This one is the only one that's really tempting because it's the second entry and it's the first break of this one. But if you're looking at the bigger channel, which is what I was looking at the time, which is, let me just color this one a little different color here. Make it brown. But that's the way I was playing it early and looking at this. So either way, you get an overshoot, which makes this a little, especially with it not being back to the EMA and kind of looking sideways. So, and the further you get here, there's several tests of this high, which would have been a good trade normally, but notice how we're bouncing off the midline. It's just too dangerous. You don't want to go short in there. So just sit tight. You finally get a failed break lower and you bounce, but you can't be taking a long yet. But notice you come up here, you try to go higher once, you try to go higher twice, and you fail. And you really had a second entry short right here. Notice you're coming up and you go first entry, second entry, but that's just so congestive. And it's still looking congestive here other than it breaks higher and you get this big bearish looking bar way away from the EMA. So I marked it green knowing that we've tested that many times and that's the highest point. You're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here, and you can see prices take on off. It still takes a little work to go on down, but that's the better entry. If you enter here, it's a little risky. Just like if you entered here, you got stopped out. And I'm pretty sure somebody posted this trade in the forum asking about it. It is a second entry by the count, but it only looks like real one attempt to go higher altogether there. And this is just sideways, and there's strong resistance there. So there's always a chance if you don't wait on that lower high that you get stopped out. And all that is probably a stop run that stops the longs out when it runs higher, or the shorts out, and it traps the longs in. So let me say that again. It traps the shorts out because they all went short here. So when it breaks higher, they all say, oh, I was wrong, and get out. And then it traps the longs in, people that don't know any better that go long above that. And then you got a trap and it shoots down real quick. But the better play is to wait for the lower high. And then you got a little more to work with right there. Again, this, you can't go short in here, and then you fail. The overall bias is down, so you don't want to be looking for any longs yet. And you come back up here and you just do the same thing again. You're just going sideways, so you can't really enter in that. But wait, and notice you get a little failed. You get a breakout with a breakout pullback short and a lower high, and you still got room to get out. And you're closing below the EMA, the midline, below the EMA. And look at it go this time. Boom, it takes off. And most likely they cleared all the stops and stuff when they came down this first time. But you still want to have room to get out before here because it could bounce there again, just like it kind of how it got back in there and bounced higher. And that's tempting to want to go long there. If you get a good setup, you might could have gone long right there, but you just don't get one. We rock it on down. We try to go higher twice there. This one is really tempting because it's a double top, and you could really call that, technically it doesn't break higher right here. They're equal, as you can see. So it's really the count 0, so you try to go higher once, twice, but that's just really congestive looking. That's one you might argue, but you do get a double test of the midline if you found the yellow channel. So it's one you might trade. I still think you're better off to wait because there's not a lot of room to that low right there. There's still plenty of room to the overnight low down here, but it's, you want a little bit of room between here and this last swing low too, and you just don't have it there, and you're still way away from the EMA. It works, and again, if you wanted to play risky, you might take it. Of course, we bounce, we come back, we get a close outside new high, wait on the lower high, which comes here, and it's an inside bar. You get another double top here, but now by that time you're in this range and you don't have much room here. The only way you might trade this one is to let it break lower and see if this bar backs up, and maybe you can get in with enough room to get out. And I don't know if that happened or not. I'm not sure if this traded up first and then went down, or went down and traded back up first. So if it traded all the way back down here and bounced, then forget that idea. Only get in if it breaks lower and triggers the trade and then backs up and fills your limit order, because then it's got a better chance of shooting on down for you. And again, we break lower, we bounce, and we've seen this little setup over and over all day today. And so, but again, you don't get a signal bar here. And so you just can't take that trade with that signal bar. You get a lower high here, but this is your signal bar here. Again, no setup. Those are just inside bars. And then you run back up and you get a second entry short here again, but a very bullish signal bar. So again, no setup on my chart. And we bounce, close outside new high, and you keep waiting for a lower high and you never get one, and then you're just working sideways. And you can clearly see this range working across here with a failed breakout. I like that one. Notice that there's a new swing low slower than that one. So that's a first entry, second entry. So there's two legs back on a failed breakout. And that's the first break of this. We did get an overshoot, but that's a pretty long downtrend almost all day. So we're probably going to try to go lower. And at the very least, we're probably going back to the EMA and the midline or the low side of this range. So I went back and forth whether this one should be green or not. But the fact that we tried to go higher all that many times and then failed that quick, we're probably turning down. They probably trapped in the shorts and the longs right there again. They probably trapped out all the shorts, and they're going to trap in longs as it breaks out. So if it turns back down, you probably get a nice little or an easy scalp out of it anyway. We bounce again here. Again, no setup. Your lower high comes here, but you've already come off the low now, and you're headed back up, so it's too dangerous to go short on just a lower high at that point. So that takes us into 2 o'clock. So it just was not a very good trading day. Not a lot going on here. So if you had a hard time finding trades today, you weren't alone. There just weren't any. So there were a few here early. And really, if you'd have played most any of these off the range, you'd probably been okay, except this first one here. And there's no setup there on mine on that second entry, but I think somebody had a little different setup than that, and they took it and it failed on them, and they wondered why. But that's you just got trapped. So anyway, that's what I saw today. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Hopefully, we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. If I don't come in, I'll try to post something. You probably won't see anything on YouTube, but hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. We'll just have to see how the weather is. Anyway, I hope you had enjoyed your long weekend. Hope you had a good trading day today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.